Hi friends, Renee Keese here with Carolina Creative. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I'm here with some card making ideas for you. I'm going to try something different today. I am working on a mystery card and we've been given some guidelines to follow, and so I've made some decisions as to cardstock and colors, following these instructions, and I'll talk through that with you as we go through this process. The card has to have embossing. And I'll show you what I'm going to emboss, but the stamp set that I'm using today is this new Citrus Blooms, and I've also got some of the die cuts. So it is a bundle, stamps and dies. And the embossing folder I'm going to use is timber, so it looks like wood. I have selected as my card base copper clay, so this is just a standard 5.5 by 4 1/4. The layer to be embossed is then I picked it's a different color cardstock. This is the new beige, and so it is 4 by 5 1/4 instead of 5.5. So it's just a little bit smaller. I'm supposed to have a 1-inch strip of the first color cardstock, so I have that and it runs the full length, and then there's the third color you're supposed to introduce that runs this way, another 1-inch strip. So I'm introducing another color here. And then I've punched out with the Nested Essentials dies a shape for my sentiment. So what I'm going to do is the embossing and a little bit of die cutting right now so I can get the machine out of my way, and then we'll start assembling all of this, and we're going to do this on the fly. So as I said, I have to emboss, and so I'm going to put it in this embossing folder. I'm going to make sure it's lined up straight or it'll look like these timber planks are crooked. And then I did stamp the, it's going to be oranges. I think it could look like grapefruits. It could look like a lot of different things. But I did pre-stamp that just to save time so I could do all the stuff with the machine first. So here we go. I've got my embossing folder, and it's slid again because I didn't have my hand firmly on there. And I'm ready to run this through. I forgot with the gray, I don't need that added layer. So here we go. Now it will crank and emboss. I love giving texture to cards. I just think it adds a really cool touch. And so now, and as I pull this out, hopefully you can see some of the texture on there. It feels really cool. Okay, that piece is done. Let me reassemble my sandwich here. I now need all the pieces. I need piece number 2. I need a mat on the bottom. I'm going to arrange this so that it will die cut the image and make sure that the image is showing down on all ends. There we go. Put the top of the sandwich on and run it through. And then I'll be done with my cut and embossing machine, and I'll move it out of the way and we can start the really fun part. Okay, out of the way. Now, flip this down so you can actually see the rest of the work area. I have my card base. I have the embossed layer that was required. I've done some die cutting to give me a focal point. I'm guessing I'm going to run this down the card and maybe this across. I haven't quite figured this out yet. We'll see. And then my sentiment will go on there. But I'm going to do some coloring first. And I pulled out some blends because I do want to make the fruit look like an orange. I've got, this is going to coordinate with my color here. So I'm just going to color in basically it's the tree branch here is what it is. Well, I'll give that stem a little brown too, just to make it look realistic. And then the leaves, which end do I want to use? I have to decide here. Let me go with the big ones first. And you can see this is pretty dark, but I think I'll lighten it with the color lifter. You can see I've got my white capped color lifter sitting right here. So let's do the 2 big leaves, and then I'm probably going to switch to the pinpoint for the smaller leaves just because I can control it better. Yep, now I see the size of these. definitely want to go to the smaller point and just color this in. I'm just going to do everything dark first, and then I'll start using the color lifter to add some dimension to these leaves. A little bit of shading. It'll make it look two-toned, which I enjoy doing. It looks really cool when you get it done. Okay, there's that bottom of that leaf. Let's do the top of this part of the leaf. And then if you look at all my blends that are sitting here, you can see I've also picked out Petal Pink because I wanted to give the flowers a little bit of color. I actually debated if I should leave them white. Oh, I got that over there. So I'm just going to give the leaf a new little shape. Okay, that's that. Let's do the fruit. And that's big enough. I think I can use the brush side. And, oh, I don't like that tip. That's been used a bit much, so let's do it this way. It'll take me a few seconds longer, but that's okay. And this builds color too, so as I layer this, if I start going over it, it will make it a little bit darker. Let's just, there we go. And you see, I'm kind of staying with the shape instead of going back and forth. I'm kind of giving it this rounded shape. I'm not an artist, but I just feel like that will help if any of the shading and lines start to show through, because I'm trying to give it a little darker, a little lighter. Yeah, that's working. Okay, and before I get out the lifter, let me do these flowers. This is just going to give it a hint of color. I like this Petal Pink. It's not a true pink. It's got some hints of this peachy color to it. Which is what I really think the citrus blossoms would look like. And so you can see I'm not even being real particular about coloring the whole thing. Here's some buds. What I may do is color, and I'm going to definitely lighten that. Okay, now I'm going to pull out my cover lifter and start working some magic. So because there's two leaves here, I'm going to make the foreground leaf a little lighter. So I'm going to just start gently putting color here, or actually removing color is what I'm doing. This is a lifter, and it takes it a few seconds to start to show. So, and now I'm just going along where the veins are, or beside the veins, and giving it just a hint of lightening here. But you can see here it's starting to lift. I'm going to go over it one more time. I want just a little bit more, but it's going to give it this two-tone color. I did pick up just a hint of color there. So now I want to put a little more lifter here just to give this orange some texture and leave the edges darker. Yep, see how it's lifting? I'll hold this up toward the camera. There we go. So now it does have some very subtle color differences, even though you saw I only used one shade of this orange. This is actually dark pumpkin pie, and I'm using shaded spruce, but now it's two-tone. It has some depth. There's some different colors there. So I'm actually ready to start assembling, and I don't want to stamp my sentiment. I picked a very nice sentiment off the Citrus Blooms. It says, "Just checking in." But because I'm not sure where I'm positioning that yet, I don't want to stamp it. But I do think I'm going to end up with this going, the copper clay going down, and maybe this across. Oh, yeah, and this at an angle, which will leave me room to tuck, if I move this up, you see how I'm just playing with this, tuck this up under there and stamp my sentiment here. And then if I wanted it, I did pull out a piece of ribbon, so I was going to tie a little bow maybe and put it on the top. So I think I've got a plan here. I'm not going to stamp on the inside yet, but what I'm thinking is I may sprinkle some of these the citrus flowers in there, or I could stamp just one side of the orange so that it shows. There's something I could do on the inside, but I'm going to wait to do that. So right now, I did not pull out my dimensionals, but I definitely think I'm going to want to put dimensionals behind the focal point. So I'm going to start assembling, and we'll see how this goes. But I think I've got all my parts and pieces here. Let us use my seal. because of the texture, I feel like it really needs that. And this is the fun part, is deciding which side do I want up, because it can go either way. It's just so cool. I'm gonna flip it this way. So I'm gonna make sure I've got seal on a couple of edges, definitely on the corners. And put a little bit in the middle just to make sure it's gonna hold flat. Okay. Here we go. Put that down. And now I want to run this. I don't want to cover too much of this cool texture. I definitely want it to show through where the embossing is. So I'm not going to put it all the way to the edge because I want that to show through. But you can see that the dimensions given for the mystery card were to make it basically match that layer. So now I've got to figure out, this is kind of going to be my piece that I'm going to adhere, and this goes corner to corner on the whole card base. So I want to put it up high enough that I have room for that focal point. There we go. To hang down and to still squeeze the sentiment in. Because I picked a long sentiment, I now need, I needed something larger than I really hoped. For my sentiment, I'd hoped I'd just have a small piece, but it's going to work. So I'm going to make that come off at an angle, and then I can tuck this under there. I like it. It's kind of hidden, but I think that's a good idea. And I think I've got this just a smidge crooked. So let me line it up this way. Yeah, that looks better. Now, I want to put some dimensionals behind the pretty orange with the leaves. The flowers. This is what's going to add color. Here we go. And I might need to see if I can put a little one behind the stem up here just to give it some support. And I do have my minis here. I always keep a packet here with both. So if it's too big, I'll just cut it in half, because sometimes even the minis aren't mini enough. And that's what I'll do, is just, it's stuck to my finger. Get that out of my way. There we go. And you can see it's very sticky, which is a good thing. Now, these things are so doggone small. That's what I get. But I do feel like that is going to need some support. And I don't want it to be peeking out, so I need to get it centered just right. There we go. And pull off all the backings here, or at least most of them. That one's not wanting to pop. Did I already get it off? I think so. And you can tell sometimes it's easy just to put a thumbprint and pull them straight off. Okay, here's a loose one. So now I'm ready to put this on the angle, and I've still got space. So now I'm going to stamp, and I didn't decide what color, but I think I got the copper clay. I think that's the right color to use on this. I could have gone with a darker orange, but yeah, that's it. So let me close up the ink. I don't need that anymore. Let me put some seal behind this. And now it's time to tuck it up under there. And of course, because I use dimensionals, it's going to be a little tricky to slide it there. But I just popped one so that it will go. Perfect. The only thing, two things, I do want to add a little ribbon to this. So let me see if I can tie a little bow and get it shaped up and trimmed, and you have to kind of pull and tug, but it comes together. There we go, because I think I want that up there. And last step, Wink of Stella. I want to give this orange a little glisten here, and maybe the flowers too. Give it a little shimmer, and the big flowers too. And then I just need a glue dot to adhere my bow. And of course, you could put some more bling on here. You could put some rhinestones or, you know, a little bit of sparkle. And I'm going to put that up on the stem. And I think that's just a little bit big for this design. So let me trim that. Let me trim this. Give a little angle to this. It's so flimsy. Perfect. Yep. So there we go. And I do have an insert on the inside. Like I say, I will probably put a few flowers and another sentiment in there once I decide what I want it to be. But this is just a nice thinking of you, just checking in. Cheerful. I think it's kind of summery as we go into the summer season. So that is my mystery card design today. I was following instructions. You pick whatever stamps and colors you want to use, and this is what I came up with for my mystery card. Thanks for joining. If you like the products you're seeing here or the projects, feel free to contact me. I can be reached at stampinup.net, or you can find me at Carolina Creative or #Carolina Creative. Thanks so much.